Hello, everyone, and welcome to Co-Creation Station, the podcast where we talk about the law of attraction, the art of allowing, spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and how to best enjoy this mystical, miraculous, mysterious, crazy, sometimes confounding, but always incredible journey we call life. My name is Collin. I'm located in beautiful, sunny North Hollywood, California.
My name is Stephanie Orlina. I am a transformational life coach, and I'm in San Diego, California.
We want to thank you so much for listening or watching or both, however you're joining us today. We do want to let you know at the top of the podcast here that we often mention the names Abraham Hicks and Esther Hicks. If you are not familiar with those names, Esther is a speaker and author who channels Abraham. Abraham is described as a group of entities from beyond our physical world who share their wisdom by speaking through Esther at workshops and speaking opportunities around the world. You can find out more information by searching Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks on YouTube if you're watching us here. You can search for them on your web browser. You can also go to their website, abraham-hicks.com. Each week, we start our discussion from a different jumping off point here on the podcast. And this week, am I starting off? We each have a story.
Collin, you are starting it off this week.
Okay.
This is you and what you have to say.
All
That
right.
was cute. Got to check out the YouTube channel. The cute
than normal.
Cuter. Cutest.
Yeah, so you said, I mean, right before we started, hit record, you said, "Oh, tell your story," and I was like, "Oh, yeah." So I created a vision board this year, pretty soon after January 1st, and I usually do that every year, but last year, 2023, I don't know, I just forgot or neglected to do it. So I really wanted to do it this year because they always really do great things for me. They feel good to look at. And I have a bunch of stuff on it. I really
It's
like it.
so nice. Can you put it up?
I feel like some of it's kind of private. I don't
Okay,
know.
okay, then forget it. It's awesome.
Yeah, I need to make like a public version because anyway,
Really? Were there? I don't remember, but yeah, I get it.
yeah. But there was one section, so I had little sections of like what I want to do with Dungeons and Dragons this year, what I want to do with the podcast, my exercise and fitness, like that's sort of different visions for different things. And one section I have is friends. And what I put on there for most of the sections, I put like a phrase that was evocative for me of like what I'm really looking to manifest in 2024 for that thing. And then I usually got one or two photos from the internet of just that just sort of represent that. And when I look at it, I'm like, yeah, that's what I want. And so for the friend section, I put time together in person as the phrase because, and I think a lot of people probably can relate to this. During COVID, I became a hibernating hermit here in my little apartment in Los Angeles. I just really miss I do go out and hang out with friends now, but it's really reduced from what I used to do pre-COVID. So I just I want to have more in-person, face-to-face contact with my friends. So I got two photos. One of them is a group of five friends hanging out in somebody's living room at like a pizza party or something. The other one is a man and a woman sitting in a coffee shop, just enjoying talking together across a table in a coffee shop. And so I was thinking those represented my existing friends, people I already knew. Like I want to go down to San Diego and see you and have coffee with you, for example, um, that sort of thing. But what something that happened recently was I started working on a new novel. My band isn't really kind of happening right now. That's a whole other story. But I'm being creative in other ways through Dungeons and Dragons, and I got this idea for like a sci-fi novel, science fiction novel. And I've been talking to another friend who's a writer as well, and she mentioned that over the course of her writing career, many times she's had a writing group that she goes to, and like they write together and they give each other feedback. Sometimes it's different, depending on what people need. And at some point in the past, I had heard that from her, and like it kind of occurred to me, like, oh, that'd be cool. That'd be cool if I, you know, worked on a novel and like had a writing group to go to. And so then I remembered when I started writing this novel a few weeks ago, I remembered that Geeky Teas and Games, which is the gaming store primarily that sells Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering and all those sorts of games, uh, which is my main connection to that community here in Los Angeles. It's where I started playing when I got back into it. Um, they have a writers group that meets at once a week. I didn't remember what day or what you had to do, but I went online and I found the information. It happens on Thursday nights at 6:30. Da da da. And so I signed up for it. You just have to RSVP if you want to go. So I RSVP'd online. I showed up, and the writers group has two permanent members right now. It fluctuates, and it was one man and one woman, and they were sitting at this table. And the room that they were in at Geeky Teas is sort of set up like a coffee shop. It's mostly people play games on the table, but you can have beverages and stuff like that. And they each had a beverage, and they were seated exactly as the man and woman are in the photo on my vision board.
I love it.
And it was the kind of thing of like, I got along with them great from the beginning. They do a thing where they go out to eat afterwards if people want to, and I hadn't eaten, so I went out to dinner with them, and we had a great discussion. And I realized, like, I mean, I don't know what my future involvement forever is going to be in terms of that group, but like, we got along great. Like, we rode over there in one of their cars, and they brought me back, and we were chatting the whole time. And I left, and I said goodbye to them. And I realized the next day because I have my vision board is the background to my second monitor. It's right here.
I love that.
So I can look at it all the time and see it. And so that photo is like right in my line of vision right now. And I got up the next morning and I turned on my computer and I'm just like, da, da, da. And I look over at my vision board and I see that picture. And I realized, like, oh my gosh,
Mm.
last night I walked into the room in Geeky Teas. The woman and man were sitting right there, and they're my friends now. Like, I made new friends, and it just blew my mind. Partly because, I mean, we do this podcast. Like, I know about the law of attraction. I know why vision boards work. That's why I made one. But the thing that got even me was that, the universe knew that even though I didn't say it specifically, like, I didn't put on the vision board, I want two new friends, or I want new friends, or I want to meet new friends who are writers or creative, whatever. Like, the universe knew what that picture meant for me, like, spiritually, energetic wise.
Energetically, it's not words, it's vibration. It
And I
received the
didn't do,
vibration.
and I didn't like have that on my vision board and go, okay, I have to make two new friends, one man, one woman. We have to meet at a coffee shop. How am I going to do that? I didn't do any of that. It literally was, and we talked about this, we've talked about it many times, but we talked about it last episode as well, last week, about the best thing, the things that come the fastest and easiest for me are things that I go, oh, that'd be cool to have that. And then I never think about it again. Because then I'm not putting up any resistance.
Yeah, you're open.
Ego and
Yeah.
crappy old pattern thoughts and things are out of the way, and the universal manager can just, like, boom, law of attraction, just like attracts like, boom, you got it. So
I love it.
it was
That
amazing.
is cool. And I think that's where, because you had shared that story with me um the last week. And you said, yeah, it was so weird. And I'm like, and no, it's not. Like, I need to stop saying that, because it's like, but of course, I remember having this friend years ago, and she said her aunt would say, of course, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah,
of course.
yeah, that's great.
Instead of, oh my God, that's so out of the blue, or oh, that was so weird. It's like, of course, because that's how your universal manager is. Of course.
Yeah,
That's how the law of attraction is. The universe is, of course.
yeah,
Be, do, or have anything. Life is supposed to be fun.
yeah.
And so that is great. Oh my God, I love that story. That is super cool. I want one too. I want to make one, and I'd love to have it as my background. That just because
That
it's
was an idea.
there.
That was an idea I got from somebody else. I was in a chat online with somebody, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I made my vision board, my background on my computer," and I'm like, "That's brilliant," because, like, I've had it, but, like, I think the one I had in 2021 or 2022, I made a physical one on a big
Yeah.
sheet of poster board,
Hmm.
and I did put it, like, like, kind of on the wall behind my computer here and over to
Nice.
the right, which was pretty prominent, but I wouldn't see it all the time. I
Yeah.
my morning, even though it's right there, I'm like going to the kitchen to get breakfast and I'm ignoring it.
Right.
And when they said that, I was like, oh my God, I'm on my computer like too much, probably
Right?
all day and all night. And I look at it constantly. So yeah, so it's really great. And I've had other things, from it already manifest, which is funny too, because I felt it's so funny how like I often have thoughts of like, I know how this is going to happen.
Me too.
I know, I'm pretty sure I know how this is going to happen. A lot of these things,
Oh,
like I thought, well, there's no way they're going to happen in January and February of this year. Like these are things I want to have happen by December 31st. So
right.
probably summer, fall, and like a bunch of them have already happened. So it's like, and we're not even
Love
through
it.
February here as we're recording. So
Yeah, that is so great. That is so great. I love that. So I have a really cool story for this week too. As I was said in last week's, it comes up on my phone multiple times. And it's like, what fun thing today? Or what one, what do you want to do that's fun today? And sometimes it can be as simple as coloring. Other times it can be like watch reels.
mm,
Sometimes it's, go park somewhere and watch the sunset, even though I can watch it from my front window now. And so it was like the train, a lot of, now I love the train. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to go down to Old Town Transit Center, and because the train, the coaster and the Amtrak come through there, and so does the freight train. The trolley does too. And so I go down because I look at the timetable and it's like, oh yeah, it's gonna arrive at like 5:35 and 5:40 or whatever. And so I park and I could tell Nibbles wanted to get out of the car. I don't usually take him out of the car, but I, put his leash on and we get out of the car. And then here comes the coaster and it comes and it goes. And I'm super happy. And when it comes in, it depends on which direction it's coming from. It either blows its horn when it's arriving or when it's leaving. And I love the horn as well. And so the next coaster comes in and the conductor gets off. They always get off. And I'm standing right there and I say hi to him and he's like, hi. And I go, yeah, I wish you guys allowed dogs on the train. And he goes, well, we do. He goes, you can put them in a soft case. And I go, and I just know Nibbles, like I wouldn't, put him in that or whatever. And he goes, and I go, yeah, but like this. And he goes, well, people do. And he goes, and as long as you just keep them contained. And I'm like, well, he's really well behaved. And he's like, I'm like over the moon. I'm like, I can take him. Because there's so many times I've wanted to just take the coaster up to Oceanside or Encinitas and like have lunch and just hang out. And I don't want to leave Nibbles in the
I think the
crate.
coaster goes to some other city north of San Diego. I don't remember. It's Los Angeles.
The Amtrak does. The Amtrak will go as far as Santa Barbara. The coaster will go as far as Oceanside.
I ruined my joke.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. So anyways, I'm in my story, whatever. And so I'm like, thank you so much. I'm like, he could tell like my inner child was like over the moon happy. And I waved to him bye as he's, getting on. And even as he's on the train, he's leaving and I'm waving to him. And I'm like, Devils, we get to go on the coaster. Oh my God, I'm so happy. So I allowed that in because I had even looked on the website and like, yeah, he can be. I actually thought the coaster said they can't have any animals. On
Mm.
the Amtrak, you can, but they have to be in like a soft case or a hard case, and they have to be inside it the whole time. And I'm just not gonna, then I have to carry it around when I just go hang out for the day or whatever. And so now I get to plan a trip for the day and go to Oceanside, have lunch at this Thai place I like, walk around with him, head to the pier, whatever, and then come back home. So that was awesome. And I attracted that and allowed that in by going and doing something that brought me joy.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like, this is a challenge for me. But you and my sister Kelly, who's appeared on this podcast many
Hi,
times,
Kelly.
is a great loyal listener and viewer. Have talked about this, and it's one of those things that I still need to work on. Is like not, and I don't know exactly how to explain it, but like there's plenty of things in life that like on the surface will tell you you can't do that. That's not allowed or whatever. And I'm not recommending anybody break any laws or whatever, but it's like there are times where it's like we can take something like that, or like a lot of times for me it's just somebody else having an experience. Like I'll say, oh, I'm thinking of doing this thing, and the person will be like, oh, I tried doing that and I couldn't do it. And so I will take that to mean, oh, nobody can do that. Like
Mhm.
I know one person who tried it, it didn't work, so it's universally not going to work for anyone. And I forget in that moment that that's often that person's vibration, just, like they just are attracting not being able to do it. And sometimes there's the other thing, like you're like that, what that story evokes for me too is that like the way in which you're able to do it, the universe has to deliver it to you. You're not gonna like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know if I went on the website for the coaster right now, there probably is a policy that says absolutely no pets or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like I could write to the company that runs the coaster and say, I think it's unfair that pets are not allowed, blah blah blah. And they would just write back to me and be like, well, we apologize for inconvenience, but we've had episodes of pets making blah, blah.
Oh my God,
I
you're
mean,
telling this story and I'm thinking all these resistant thoughts.
yeah, right. But I mean, that's one way you could
Oh my
try,
God.
right? You could try.
Thanks a lot, Collin. Because I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna have this. Oh my God.
Yeah, but I mean,
Effing
it's
A.
just that's why it's so off. It's sometimes counterintuitive for me, but it's really important sometimes to like let go of, oh, great, so and so tried it and it didn't work for them, or the posted policy is X. Don't just force the issue. Like I wouldn't recommend in your situation, like just not having had that conversation, just bring Nibbles on the train, see what happens.
Yeah, yeah,
But just say to the universe, I would really like to bring Nibbles. You figure it out, universe, and I
yeah,
won't try to control the how.
yeah,
And that's
yeah.
that's the challenge for so much of us. We need, we talk about this all the time. Getting tangled up in the hows, and that leading to resistance.
So,
And
so I was thinking all these resistant thoughts as you started to bring this story up. And I
sorry,
started and I started judging and I'm like, oh
confirmation.
my God, I'm gonna take him now. And then I'm gonna get the one conductor who's like, you can't have dogs on here. And so
Oh,
'cause obviously this conductor was like, yeah, people do it all the time. It's no problem, blah, blah, blah. So nice guy. And then and so then as and I'm realizing I'm having all these resistant thoughts. I wasn't having them up until now. Thank you so much, Collin, for allowing me to be able to then conjure up these resistant thoughts. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go take them. And then I'm gonna thinking, oh yeah, this will be the one time when someone says you can't bring them on. But as you were saying all this, I was like, oh, what I could do if I choose to, now that I have some fear about doing it, is get one of those papoose. You know how they have those little dog carriers,
Mhm.
like how you do with a baby. Because the woman I met, I haven't told this story yet and I want to get her approval before I do, but I met a woman on Christmas Day up in Temecula, and she had her dog in her purse. I'm standing there talking to her. I'm like literally like a foot away from her, and we're chatting. I didn't even know her dog was in the purse until she said, oh yeah, and I have a dog. I go, do you have a dog? She goes, yeah. And she goes, right here. And she points to it. I can see it. And granted, Nibbles is a small dog, but he's bigger than that one. But I could totally put him in something where it just looks like I'm carrying a baby or something.
Yeah.
So I think I may go that route when I do
Mhm.
choose to, take him with me if I
What
do.
that what that brought up for me, I'm glad you mentioned it though, and I apologize for bringing up the resistant thoughts, but um,
Whatever, call it. Rain on my parade.
um, but it's also the reverse, right? Like if I have a vibration that you can't bring pets on the train, and you tell me that story, I'll be like, that's not true. They won't let you on. And then if I tried to bring my dog on the train, I would likely manifest that. Like I would get the conductor that was like, no, Pat's on the train, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Whereas you probably will have a fine time because your vibration is now, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I think it was
But
my
I mean,
vibration was better before we had this conversation. And this is a good point. I think I mentioned this well, I mentioned this several episodes. Episode 11 I listened to again last night, which put me in a really good mood. And of season 7, episode 11, is that certain things I keep close to my vest
mhm.
because if they're not concrete for me, if they're visions that I have and they're not concrete for me, if I share them with someone
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they're in doubt about it and then they share
yeah,
that with me, then it can make my vibration wobble a little.
yeah,
And so I could have very, if I had any indication that that could happen, I could have kept that story to myself
yeah.
and
Mhm.
just went and did it. And I probably would have been fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Now
and
I've messed
so,
it up. No, it's a great
um,
point. I think that's one thing about the writing group that I joined is that, and again, I didn't have that much invested in it, which is I think why it worked out so well. But like one thing I definitely wanted was people that were supportive
mm,
and could offer feedback in a positive, constructive way, and weren't like
nice.
people who just like to tear down other people's work. Because in
Oh,
any
goodness.
field of
Ugh.
creativity, you bump into these sort of toxic people. Like all they want to do is
Yeah.
tear down other people's work. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I would rather just write the novel at home, even if it's harder, than be with people that are just going to have a negative vibration about novel writing.
Their inner critic coming out and like spoiling your, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think that that's totally fair. I think it's I feel I probably do. I think you and I probably do that pretty regularly now, where and we don't really talk about it, but it's like with certain people in our lives, we don't bring up certain topics because we know
Oh, hell no.
we
Yeah.
have a pretty good vibration going, but it may be new or fragile or whatever. We're just not as strong as we'd like to be. And so we don't bring it up with that person because we know that person has a thing about like they talk negatively about whatever topic it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like if we bring it up with them, they're gonna do their little, rant about how it never works or whatever, and that's gonna make my job like I'm okay with not having listened to that, but having listened to more of stuff that triggers stuff I had in my head from my
My
past.
doubt. Yeah.
Now,
Starts
now
to
I've
pop
got to
up.
now I got to
Yeah.
form up my vibration because I kind
Yeah.
of got into their negative thing.
Yeah. And then I like to, kind of going back to that time where I, was like, I came home and I'm like, I'm gonna win Zach Brown tickets. I'm gonna go to see Zach Brown. And my then husband was like, no, you're not. And I believed it so strongly and was so excited about it that literally his words just bounced right
That's what
off
I
of
was gonna.
my
Yeah,
vibration.
yeah,
And so when I'm in that state and I'm with others who may have some doubt or whatever,
yeah,
if I'm in that high vibrational state and I say some, big dream or whatever, their doubt will just barely touch my surface and then just
yeah,
bounce right off. But if I'm not, if I'm just coming to believe, or I just have this like beautiful vision that's come to me and I start sharing with someone, but I have a lot of doubt about it,
yeah.
their doubt and their remarks can definitely impact my vibration. And then I'll be like,
It's
what
fascinating
was I
to me
thinking?
too because like there's that old this gets passed around a lot the story about like or idea whatever about like if somebody walked up to you and said I don't like your purple hair and you don't have purple hair you 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 let that comment bounce off you because it just doesn't make any sense to you. You don't try to analyze like, wait, is my hair really purple? Does it look really bad? It's like you instantly know that like that person has that whatever's going on with them, they have a totally different vibe or perspective than what you're on, and you don't need to contemplate it, integrate it, analyze it. You just let it go off your whatever. But like when somebody says you say, well, I really want a new job, and I'm on the edge of six figures, but I'd really like to get a new job where I get six figures. And the person says, well, there's no way you'll ever get six figures in that field. Somehow that we're like, oh, that I'll take and I'll just believe. And it's like, but you can use the same principle. Like, if they were talking about your purple hair, you wouldn't listen to them. So it doesn't, like everybody's always coming from their own experience, which usually creates their vibration, and it's a real pothole you can step into in this work of just going, oh, so and so said this, so I guess I'm just going to do their limiting belief because they presented the evidence in their life that their limiting belief is true, and I guess it's true for everybody. And it's like, no, you can just pretend they told you they didn't like your purple hair, and you just let it go.
I think it's interesting because I've had two friends in my life who manifested something that I was like, I think I want that too. And then each time I shared it with, when I shared it with each person, it was a different material item, an experience. They both were like individually like, yeah, but, and they brought up their resistant thoughts about it. Like, and I remember stepping back going, right, oh, I think it's interesting how they thought it was possible for them, but
Hmm.
they don't think it's possible for me. I was like,
Yeah.
huh, that's really interesting. Um,
Well, that's
and
another
yet,
aspect of it. I think we all do that at some point where we decide who is worthy and who is not, and sometimes we're worthy and other people aren't, and sometimes it's the reverse. Like, oh, well, they can do that because they were born into the right family or whatever, but not me. I'm never gonna whatever.
do you think it's a worthy thing or do you think it's something more? Because I never even thought about it being worthy. I thought about it
Well,
as
I was just
it's
using that as an
just not
example.
possible.
I was
And
just
I
using
was,
that as an example of a
okay,
limiting
okay.
belief. Like,
Yeah,
but I mean, I think we do assign like I can do this, but so and so can't, or so and so
yeah,
can do this, but
yeah,
I can't, or
yeah.
so and so can attract this, but I can't.
And it's cool because with the first friend that did that, and these are just the ones that I remember. I don't, there's probably other times that it's happened, but it doesn't come to mind. I remember going, huh, okay. And then I ended up, unbeknownst to me, because my universal manager was on it, knew I wanted it, something came about, and I was literally living the essence of what she had created that I wanted that she didn't think I could.
Hmm.
And I attracted it and I allowed it in. And then with the second friend, it hasn't happened yet. But as we were talking in our last episode last week, it's like, oh, it's inevitable. So it's
Yeah.
going to happen. It's just a matter of when and how.
Well, that's why I love, I mean, not to rehash everything we talked about last episode, but that's why I love that word inevitable. It feels so powerful to me because if I, and you could test me
So then it's inevitable that Nibbles and I will be on the train together.
100%, 100%.
And he won't be in a soft crate.
But you could test me, and I think I could test you of like asking each other, like, do you think that you getting fill in the blank is inevitable? And I mean, I feel like anything you ask me, I could check in myself. I go, yeah, I'm not inevitable yet, or like, oh yeah, no, I'm totally, it's a really good indicator of like where we're at with our belief.
But that's okay because what I'm saying when I brought that up last week in our episode was that I'm coming to believe that.
Yeah,
I'm beginning to practice that thought.
yeah,
And when I'm doubting, I'm nowhere near it. And I
yeah,
try not to even like bring it up. But when
yeah,
I'm in a better feeling place and whatever it is that I'm thinking about, whether it be a partner or money or my place or my car, whatever it may be, and I'm in a better feeling place, I'm like, I have to figure out how, just because it's not here yet. It's inevitable stuff. You can literally, just like you walked into that, you had that thought of, oh, let me go to that writers group.
yeah,
You didn't know that was going to happen. It was an
yeah,
inspiration that came to you, and then you went and then you manifested, and you didn't even know when it was happening that it had manifested until the next day when you looked at your vision board. And
yeah,
so it was literally like right around the corner. And all of those other things are literally right around the corner, just as I didn't know that when I was driving down Claremont Drive the other day and then had that thought of, oh, let me go drive into the parking lot and see if that Lexus is there.
mhm,
And, I didn't know any of that was going to happen.
yeah,
So everything that we want can come about. It does come about just like that, just like had a friend a long time say out of the blue, but it's really not. It's our universal manager who's working for me all the time. It's just a matter of, am I resisting it, you know,
yeah,
or am I feeling better and just kind of going with the flow?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
Great discussion. We hope you got something out of our discussion today. We want to thank each and every one of you. Thank you so much for listening or watching or both, however you uh, tune in and join us here. We really, really appreciate each and every one of you. I want to give a special shout out to my friend Teresa in Connecticut. I had a conversation with her this week on the phone, and she went on and on about how much she enjoys the podcast. And
Thank you.
I want to thank you, Teresa, for that. We remember, we want you to remember, sorry, that
Welcome to our party.
yes. Remember that at this point in March of 2024, we're still posting a brand new episode for you every single Monday morning. And we truly appreciate you doing whatever your platform allows you to do to support us and help other people find the show. All of our social media links and our Patreon link, if you want to help support us financially, are down the doodly-doo, the description of the YouTube version below. We wish you a happy and abundant week, and we look forward to you joining us again on the next episode of Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Bye.